Hey YouTube, Joyboy here. So today I want to talk about some of the legends in the world of One Piece. Specifically, I want to talk about Monkey D. Garp and Gold D. Roger. And so I don't normally talk about power rankings or anything of that nature, but I thought this one was kind of different, kind of interesting. Maybe a real argument to be made to change your opinion from maybe what you may have thought before, and so a worthy video to do in my opinion. And so the question for this video is rather simple. Who's stronger, Gold D. Roger or Monkey D. Garp? Obviously when both were in their primes and alive and fighting each other. And so some people might say, well, we already have the answer to this. Garp chased Roger around the Grand Line. So either, if you're thinking about it from this way, Roger didn't really ever beat Garp. So it could have been that Garp was stronger, or straight up that they were equal. But then again, when Garp chased Roger around the Grand Line, I do not believe that he did so by himself. He's part of the Marines. The Marines are one of the largest and most powerful entities within the world of One Piece. And so we're not led to believe that Roger really made alliances, made a fleet. It was just simply the Or Jackson and the members of his crew. So I could imagine that Roger going up against Garp and potentially legions upon legions of troops would not have ended well for him, so he might have chosen to run away from Garp, but could have individually been stronger than Garp himself. So with this kind of mentality, I would expect that someone would believe that Garp and Roger are probably very nearly the same strength. However, in a one-on-one fight, Roger would eventually win. So anyway, it is of my opinion that there's probably going to be three groups of people out there. One is going to say that they're the same strength. The other is going to say Roger was the Pirate King, therefore he must have been stronger. Pirate King, strongest person in the world. Or three, why are you even talking about this? I don't really care. And if you put three, chill out fam. There's some other things that I want to say as well that tie in with this, that this topic allows me to bridge. So now let's talk about something that people have talked about a lot. It's a question a lot of people ask. There's a clear relationship between certain parts of the story and other parts of the story. For instance, we have before the time skip and after the time skip. There's very clear parallels that can be made between those two halves of the story. This also applies to Roger's journey and Luffy's journey. There's definitely many parallels between Roger and how his journey ended up and the path that Luffy's journey is taking. Some of the similarities include they have a very similar personality and outlook and dream as revealed by Shanks. They both carry the will of D. They both have or had the straw hat. Both can hear the Sea Kings and possess most probably the voice of all things, although Luffy's ability to do this is not 100% confirmed, but it's one of those things that is confirmed without needing to be confirmed. Both Rayleigh and Zoro are actually somewhat similar as first mates of the ship, and they actually, coincidence or not, they both have a scar over one eye. Both are from the East Blue. Both were executed or attempted to be executed in Logtown. Both got their new ships in Water 7. There's most likely more that you could find, but these are just the ones that I could think of off the top of my head. But at the same time, while there are parallels, there are also very distinct differences, almost progressions in the story. And in the case of Roger and Luffy, I think these differences are going to highlight how Roger wanted to do something. He came into this world with the idea to do something and he failed, and Luffy will actually succeed. So once you've established that there's parallels between Roger's journey and Luffy's journey, you then have to ask the question, who is the Garp for Luffy, right? Because Garp chased Roger around the Grand Line. He was the Marine force, the Marine rival of Gold D. Roger. But who is the Marine rival for Monkey D. Luffy? And there's actually two possible answers. Those two answers are Smoker and or Kobe. And so if this is actually some parallel to Roger's journey, it can't be both. And to be honest with you, to sum up my answer for this question in a couple words, a lot of people do think that Kobe could be the Garp to Luffy, but I do not believe Kobe will fulfill that role during the actual time frame of the story. Rather, once the story concludes, then Kobe could be at that level. The person whose activities and events most remind me of what I imagine Garp did against Roger is actually Smoker. Again, what do we know about the relationship between Garp and Roger? We know that Garp chased him around the Grand Line. What do we know about the relationship of Smoker and Luffy? Smoker is currently chasing Luffy across the Grand Line. Started it in Logtown, led to Alabasta, led to the New World, led to Punk Hazard, and they will undoubtedly meet again. And this is where it becomes really interesting and why a lot of people don't buy the fact that Smoker might be the GARP to Luffy, which is that currently it seems very obvious to me and many others as well that right now Luffy is considerably stronger than Smoker. Smoker was unable to beat Virgo, and while you have people out there that will argue that perhaps he could have, I'm not going to sit here and delve into that. What I do want to say is that I believe it 100% fact that Doflamingo was stronger than Virgo. So for Luffy to have beaten Doflamingo, or at least using Gear 4th, have been for that moment in time before it ran out considerably stronger than Doflamingo, that would essentially imply that Luffy is considerably stronger than Virgo, and therefore considerably stronger than Smoker. So if we are paralleling here Roger's journey, then perhaps Roger was actually by the end of the story considerably stronger than GARP. And another interesting thing about this relationship is that not once has Luffy actually beaten Smoker. Smoker has actually defeated Luffy before in the past, and really could have done it at multiple points in time and sort of let him off the hook, and still is chasing him around looking to capture him. And to the eyes of the world, given the actual history of events, without having followed Luffy's journey like we are as readers, you could almost say that Smoker is stronger than Luffy. And from an outsider's perspective, you would believe that those two would be rivals and equals. But as I just reasoned, as of right now, they're not. In fact, I'd go so far to say as they've never been equals. In the first half of the story, Smoker was clearly stronger, and in the second half of the story, Luffy is clearly stronger. So again, depending on how much parallel Oda wants to make between Roger and Luffy's journey, it's very possible that GARP and Roger's situation is remarkably similar to this one, where early in Roger's journey, GARP actually was stronger than Roger, beat him up, they had many countless fights, Roger managed to escape, and that's what created the lore of Roger and GARP. However, by the end of the story, by the time that Roger actually was capable of becoming the Pirate King, by the time that he actually became the Pirate King, he was much, much stronger than GARP. Definitely some food for thought, and definitely leans me towards the belief that if you were to actually compare the strengths of the two legends, GARP and Roger, which one was stronger in their prime, I would almost argue that it's Roger, if Smoker is indeed the GARP to Luffy. But now let's go back and let's talk about Kobe for a moment, because Kobe is really interesting. Kobe is the other marine entity that has a relationship to Roger. And so, you know, if there's some parallel between Roger and Luffy's journey, as previously stated, then who was the Kobe for Roger? And so there might be some out there that'll say, you know, there's even no guarantee that there will be a Kobe-like character in Roger's story. But to some extent, I'll disagree. Oda has done a lot of work setting up all these, like, key parallels here. As I've already discussed, I think Smoker and GARP are remarkably similar. If you look at other relationships that we know about Goldie Roger, we'll know that he had two pirate rivals. One was Whitebeard, who really was almost like a friend to them. They had a lot of mutual respect for each other, and it seems like they didn't really get in each other's way that often. And then on the other hand, you had Shiki and Roger, and Shiki seemed like the more evil version of Whitebeard in the sense that he was the one that was looking to take over the world, to basically cause harm, etc., and was a pirate rival of Roger. And so in the case of Luffy, we've had specifically two pirates, two supernova, that are seemingly given the same sort of status as Luffy, or at least highlighted in the story. You have Law and you have Kid. And so if you're looking at the Whitebeard type of relationship for Luffy, you would look at someone like Law, in my opinion. They're almost friends, but not quite. And then on the other hand, you're looking for a rival who's more evil, more destructive. You would look at someone like Captain Kidd. The fact that Oda specifically highlighted these three characters, and then specifically highlighted, you know, Roger, Whitebeard, and Shiki in his story, again, just further paints the similarity. It makes me really wonder if Oda didn't go all the way. So what do we know about Kobe at this point? Kobe is someone with a lot of ambition. Not necessarily the strongest kid in the world, but somebody who's willing to work hard to get there. He's also somebody who cares a lot about everyone. He cannot stop caring about every little individual person. He wants to find peace. And we also know that he's part of the Marines. And I think that we should in general believe that at some point in time he will realize that the peace that he's searching for, the world happiness that he's sort of aiming for, is not really obtainable with the current state of the world government. And so given how much he cares, it seems almost reasonable to suggest that at some point in time Kobe may become a rebel. In fact, he was almost already rebel status at the end of the Marineford arc. If you're looking for somebody who potentially could be similar to that, I think our closest example from the story that we're aware of right now would be Dragon. And this of course would assume that, this is a popular theory that you may or may not believe in, that Dragon was originally part of the Marines. So we're not going to get into the Dragon was previously a Marine theory at all, because that would only drag out this video. But if Kobe is indeed the Dragon of this story, then that would suggest that Dragon and Roger had some kind of relationship, if their stories are in any way paralleled. So then Dragon's sort of relationship with Roger would be akin to Kobe's relationship with Luffy. Kobe looks up to Luffy. Kobe dreams of greatness so that he can take Luffy down. Was Dragon the same? Was Dragon the same kind of kid who looked up to Roger? Roger's greatness told him that one day he would become a Marine Admiral and then take him from his Pirate King throne, only to discover along the way that the Marines who he had grown up idolizing weren't all that they were cracked up to be. But anyway, guys, just want to share some thoughts with you. I think this is really interesting. Yeah, I mean, just tell me what you think. Tell me if you agree with anything that I said or disagreed with anything that I said and why. Just share your thoughts. Like the video if you like the video. Dislike the video if you dislike the video. Subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.